This is Red, White, and Bluegrass.
A bill looking to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at public colleges and universities passed the House in Frankfort this week. House Bill 4 passed strictly along party lines 81 to 18. The bill would prohibit higher education institutions in Kentucky from considering race, national origin, sex, or religion in hiring, admissions, decisions, or scholarships. This ends any funding for DEI-related offices and prohibits any required or incentivized DEI pledges, statements, or trainings.
I think this bill gets us away from addressing, fixing, and moving forward with the issues and concerns that have happened in this country. Lest I remind you that 100 years ago, there were not people in this body that looked like me.
This bill is not talking about one individual group. This bill is talking about everybody. Everybody is on the same playing field. Everybody has the same access. Everybody has the same rights.
This bill now moves on to the Senate. So Representative Watkins, I want to start with you here. I heard some of the debate that you brought to the floor on this bill. What do you think about these programs being effective at their intended goal? Or do you think that there have been negative consequences as brought up by the sponsors, whether they be intended or unintended?
I think the purpose, we have to go back to why we have diversity and equity inclusion, why we have civil rights in the first place. And these rights, these programs, these opportunities weren't simply handed over from the goodness of people's hearts. They were earned and won and fought by the blood, sweat, and tears of a lot of different communities, and communities like mine. And as a freshman legislator who represents a very diverse district, and I'm a black man, I'm pretty much a subject matter expert in it, and I have a history of it from my family. So I think we oftentimes go back too far in history. I mentioned on the floor 2008 when I was at UK's campus, and if I actually look at the last 4 years of in-state enrollment for underrepresented minorities, they have actually increased. So I would challenge, where's the data? Where's the numbers to show that they are not working?
What would you say to that, Representative Bray?
I mean, for me, it's a question of constitutionality. You know, the Supreme Court ruled a couple years ago that programs related to DEI based strictly on race or religion or ethnicity were unconstitutional. We've got an Attorney General's opinion that says the same thing. House Bill 4 simply codifies what we all know and hopefully all aspire to, that you know, it's the idea that we pick and choose based on race or ethnicity or sexual orientation. It isn't constitutional. I mean, it should be on the quality of the individual, the quality of the applicant. We should be a colorblind society. It's something we should all strive to be. And the constitutionality of those programs are wholly unconstitutional. And that's why, you know, you saw us take action last year and you saw us take action again this year.
On the unconstitutionality point, Representative Watkins, the sponsor brought up many times the 2023 Supreme Court decision, I think on Harvard. What do you think about that argument being made there, and is there a way to, I guess, readdress this issue of diversity without stepping into this constitutionality argument?
I think the courts are going to have a really interesting time figuring that out, but I would pause, and I appreciate at least the substance of a constitutional argument, because I think then it allows for us to engage on some substantive matters. But the Supreme Court and the law hasn't always been on the right side of history. And I mean, need I not remind anyone that at one point in time, black people were 3/5 of a citizen, and that was codified. You know, and inevitably, times change and the Constitution changes and laws change to somewhat address a wrong in the past, but also chart a pathway forward in the future. And I would just say that any conversation that we have around this needs to be a dialogue. And what we saw on the floor was a monologue. It was very prescriptive, along party lines, and it's hurting people right now who historically didn't have the opportunity to go to our colleges and universities. And I think it's going to hurt us now. It's going to hurt us in the future.
Do you think that there's a bigger role to play in perhaps private organizations getting involved in perhaps filling that role that maybe some of these scholarships in other programs may not?
Absolutely, and I would encourage private foundations, organizations of the like to do so. But look at this example. I can be a representative of a private organization that is as a graduate of the University of Kentucky, I can't take my private dollars and say, hey, I want someone to have an opportunity to go to college and give that money to the institution, because now that's considered a state action. I believe that actually private donations to a public institution is a matter of speech, but now that's being prescribed in a completely different way, and I just think it's wrong.
I just want you to get a quick chance to respond before we move on.
Yeah, listen, if we're talking about private money here, you know, what happens with private money, none of my concern. But public dollars shouldn't be used in discriminatory practices based on race, sexual orientation, creed, religion, anything like that. I mean, it's wholly unconstitutional.
All right. Thank you both for your insight. We'll be right back.